No public comment, Alex? Okay, so let's go ahead and start. So
Okay.
what do we got?
Well, we're starting off with the state issues. We will be joined by Dale Shimasaki here as soon as he can join. So I don't know if we want to take things out of order and go with federal first,
Yeah,
just to
let's
kind of
go
give Dale
federal
some time.
Yeah, let's do federal first.
Okay. Sure. Well, the federal issues will be very short. There's not a lot to talk about there. The biggest news is just the redistricting that Chu and SCFF have been going through. There was a lot of concern there for a while that Judy Chu might be facing some problems in the redistricting process, but it ended up actually being not so bad for her.
Yeah.
Her district number is changing. She'll be now representing District 28 instead of 27. But other than that, she's essentially in the same place she was before. It's not as bad as they thought it was going to be, which is a good thing for her and her team.
And then remind me who got redistricted out? Because I know that somebody did.
You know, I don't have that handy.
it's
Lowenthal and Roybal Allard are not
Yeah.
going to run because they have to run against each other.
Oh, okay.
Right, yeah, I knew Lucille got redistricted out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, the state lost a seat as they thought they were going to, but it didn't hit Judy Chu. There was some concern that it was going to be Judy Chu, but she dodged a bullet.
Yeah, the Women's Caucus was watching it, so we kind of thought Judy was going to be okay. We knew the lines would move a little bit, but yeah, we knew Lucille was up, and then I saw Lowenthal said he wasn't running.
Mm-hmm. So, Linda, you're going to ACCT. I'm going to ACCT. David, I think you're going to ACCT.
Yes.
And then who else is going? Maybe Tammy?
Yeah, Tammy is going.
Okay, great. And, we'll see. Who knows what the situation will be in terms of meetings with legislators. It's hard to know. In a minute, when we talk about the state, we'll give you an update on how that's going. I don't believe there are going to be meetings with legislators while we're there. And Dale had suggested that we think about coming up with some dates that we want to do some Zoom meetings or meetings in the district with like Chris Holden and Portantino, because right now it's all one person can be in each legislative office at a time. So they're fully remote right now.
And Dominic confirmed for me that Portantino is not doing any in-person meetings. He's only doing remote right now. And so even if he's here in the district, it'll be a Zoom meeting.
It'll be a Zoom meeting. Okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think even just our local legislators, though, we should look at if there's any particular initiatives that we want to go after, then to try and
yeah.
those legislators that then are sponsoring those.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute when we talk about the state. So Linda, from the ACCT perspective, what's on the radar? Is there anything we should know about preparing for that trip to DC?
Yeah, I was just thinking today, I should have asked Jihang for the green sheets where they put that out. So I did have a chance to talk to him the other day. They are still planning on bringing legislators into ACCT, but having them socially distanced. So instead of us going into the Capitol, they're looking for to bring the legislators in to talk to people. So he said he's still lining up the speaker group, which includes the president and the first lady.
Mm-hmm.
So they're still going after some pretty hefty speakers. Yeah, as far as going into the Capitol, I think that's going to be hard. He says anyone who's going in and doing any meetings, they're doing it like in the halls. They're not going in. It's not, enclosed spaces. They're meeting outside. So it's really kind of up in the air. So I think it's the same thing if we do any legislative meetings, or if we want any legislative meetings with the feds, I think we're probably going to have to do it then outside of the NLS conference, and just afterwards.
I just met with Judy Chu about 2 weeks ago. We were on a field trip together, and she said there was no meetings going on.
Okay. Well, and I would imagine that really what our advocacy points will be, I mean, I know we don't have the green sheet, but I imagine Pell, short-term Pell, all of the the usual suspects.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. It's all about the money. And then I
Mhm.
missed the chancellor's budget. So I don't know if we had any updates from that. If you think that
I'm happy to run through some points there, and maybe we can do that while we wait for Dale to arrive.
Yeah.
Let me bring up what CCLC shared. It'll take me a minute if we can do it. Oh, here's Dale
Yeah.
now.
Oh, yay.
Dale's
Dale.
coming in. Great. In the meantime, I'll go look for
Okay.
the
Okay.
Dale, just in time. We were returning to California State.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hi,
Thank you
Dale.
for joining us.
Yeah, sorry I'm late. I had a little conflict here, but we
That's
got
all
through
right.
quick.
So we just finished talking about the federal piece, which is essentially several of us are going to ACCT.
Oh, okay.
Probably not going to be able to meet with our legislators, but still important to go. I think Miguel Cardona is going to be talking, as well as they're trying to get the Department of Labor secretary as well. So
Right.
Oh, that'd be good.
they're trying to get the president, they're trying to get the first lady. So they're still trying to line up some big speakers.
yeah.
And then Ji Hang will be at our CCLC conference.
Oh, he
too.
will. Okay, great.
Really?
He'll be
Okay.
giving a briefing then.
Good. I need to give him an update on because he and I had breakfast with the guy from the NJCAA, the National Junior College Athletic Association, back in October. He was trying to help broker something, which did not happen. So I need to give him an update on that. But anywho, so state budget, Dale, you want to talk to us about the state budget?
Well, yeah, so in dollar terms, it's a very good budget. So it's I don't have I have a slide here on the gross dollars, but and it promises to be even better at the May revision, but we're looking at $12 billion in new money for Proposition 98. And 11% goes to the community colleges. There's a 5.33% cost of living adjustment that will be embedded in the student-centered funding formula. I think the biggest issue, the biggest piece of news for the budget relating to community colleges is the hold harmless, that they want to extend the hold harmless for one more year. In addition, thereafter, they will make it permanent. But the devil's in the details as to what the permanent hold harmless is going to be. And we have not received any trailer bill language on what the hold harmless is. We have a verbal description that is something along the lines of, you get to 25, 26, and wherever you're at that point, that becomes your new hold harmless base. But there's a lot of questions about that. And Erica and I talked about this, and I've been talking to other districts about this.
And
there's a lot of questions as to what does that mean?
right. And I reached out to Ryan McElhenney and Andy Martinez at CCLC yesterday and asked them specifically to look for the language about the rolling 3-year average.
Right.
Because I didn't see it anywhere, and it wouldn't make any sense that the rolling 3-year average would still be in play if you look at the language that's there is in 25-26, the funding is either what you had in 2017-18, which was the base year of the student-centered funding formula, or if what you had in 2017-18 plus whatever your success metrics are means that you get additional cash,
Right.
you get whichever one is higher in 25-26, but the floor is always 17-18.
Right. That would be the ideal, right?
Yeah.
That would make it workable. But again, the devil's in the details, and when we get the language in February, we'll have to sort this out. Now, the other variable is that they want to include a metric for unduplicated first generation students. And we have no idea what that means, or how would you count that? How would you?
Right. And the recommendation that came out of the SCFF work group, I don't believe the Department of Finance is going to agree with. At least the last version of it that I saw, maybe it changed since then, but the last version I saw said that a first generation student was any student for whom neither parent graduated from college.
Oh,
Now, the problem with that is you could have a student whose parents, each of whom earned 116 units, 4 units shy, they didn't graduate from college. They would be counted as a first generation student. And if that comes with additional funds, I have a feeling that Department of Finance is going to push against that, because that would weigh up the amount of money, because there are a lot of people out there who did start college, but they never graduated. So we'll just have to see what's in the language.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Can I ask the president a question? Could you refresh me? Why is 1718 the foundation?
Because when we were transitioning to the student-centered funding formula, the agreement was that 1718 was the benchmark year. And so what happened, and we knew this in 1617, because whatever you get in 1718 is based on what you did in 1617. So a lot of colleges, the LACCD included, over mine and Kathleen Burke's objections, the LACCD, for example, pushed everything into 1617. And so they pulled everything from the summer of 17. They did everything so that they had a huge number. That number is what established what their funding would be in 1718.
Okay.
Okay, so it was just the timing of it. Now, in the original idea of the hold harmless, the goal was, so in 1718, you got whatever your funding was based on 1617. And then in 1819, you got your funding based on what you had in 1718, which, as we know, was basically 1617, right?
Mhm.
But then by the time you got to 1920, what the chancellor's office was theoretically going to do is look at what was your FTES, who did you serve, what were your success metrics from 1617, 1718, 1819, and that's what would establish what your money was going to be for 1920. And forevermore, your money was going to be based on a rolling 3-year average, with the idea that some years you might have better success metrics, or some years you might have higher FTES versus other years. The problem is they never could figure out exactly how to model that. That was one problem. But the bigger problem was that the system never had enough money in its budget to cover it. So if they had done the rolling 3-year average, I mean, they calculated it, PCC is still owed like $1 million from 1920. We're still owed money. We never got fully funded because, as I always say, the state budget, the system budget for community colleges is a pie, not a blank check. So the formula assumed if you did better, you got more money. That's great, except that requires that the system just gets money put into it every time somebody does well. But as we know, at the beginning of the year, the budget gets divided out like a pie. So if we had gotten fully funded, Feather River College would have gone under because they wouldn't have gotten any of their money. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So this is actually, so the proposal for permanent hold harmless is actually a way to stabilize the student-centered funding formula.
Okay, good. Thank you.
But it still doesn't solve the problem that the budget is a pie, not a blank check. So to say that you're going to get more money if you do better presumes that more money is available to come into the state budget into the system budget in the event that a whole bunch of colleges do well, which is the goal, right? The goal is we're all doing so great that we earn more than our funded base, but there's no mechanism for the system to actually take in more money. Did I say that correctly, Dale?
Yeah.
Okay.
And on the bigger level, just in the Prop 98 space, it's not growing as much as we'd like it to, because over time, our enrollments, the K-12 enrollments, which is a factor in one of the tests for calculating 98, is going down. It's going to go down for the next 15 years.
Right.
In K-12, and that will also trigger a dampening of the growth in the Prop
In ours.
98 guarantee over the next 15 years as well. So, so we can't expect the pie to get bigger or our share to get bigger, because the overall picture in the next 15 years is that, the growth is not going to be as robust as or anywhere near the good fortune that we're experiencing now.
Right, because Prop 98 is largely funded based on K-12, and we're 10.93% of it. So if the overall pot goes down, we become 10.93% of a smaller pot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Madam Chair, can I ask, since we're on this K through 12, I'd like to ask Dale a question. I was interested this week, the Portantino bill, which deals with K through 12 attendance, I guess it is.
Yeah.
Is this good? I don't know how it would affect us, but is this a good thing? It doesn't deal with attendance.
Well, see, it's really funny because, in community colleges, we've had this hold harmless provision for a while, but K-12 doesn't have any hold harmless provision. So this year, there's no statute that protects them on the downside. They have to go to actual enrollment in ADA for their funding for this year. And a lot of the K-12 business officers are afraid, because there's this big cliff effect, and they're going to have significant drops in funding this year without any kind of solution. So Portantino has a bill. I think Assemblymember Murasucci has a bill. I hear the California School Employees Association are also going to have a bill. And then the budget has a third proposal, which is the higher of the past year, the current year, or the next year. And so there's all these different proposals trying to prevent the cliff effect from happening, the fiscal cliff effect. So it is good that we have these proposals in place so that the K-12 districts could have some sort of floor, and they know what their budget is, and then they can avert layoffs. It's sort of the same arguments that we're experiencing for why we want a permanent hold harmless. So how it sorts itself out, it remains to be seen, because the proposals, there are a lot of different proposals. Some of them say, let's convert to enrollment-based funding instead of ADA. Others just say, like, the budget is just still using ADA and take the highest of the 3 years. So everyone's got a different proposal. It's a little bit too early to figure out which one's going to prevail, but they are viable. They are good policies, because it's trying to address the same thing that we've had in community colleges. So, so I think it's a good thought. It'll be a good discussion, and hopefully it works itself out well.
Dale, of the bills that the legislature in Sacramento are considering that need to be, I guess, dealt with by the end of this month, is there anything in particular that's impacting community colleges?
Well, there's one bad bill in the sense that there's no funding associated with it, is AB 1505, which recalculates and rebenches the faculty obligation number. And the bill got set at the last minute, and we didn't have a chance to vet it. They might have even got a rule waiver to get the bill heard, but I think it did pass out of the Assembly Higher Ed Committee, and CFT and FACT sponsored the bill to rebench all the calculations for the faculty obligation number, which will mean in absence of money, districts are going to have to recalculate what that number is, and they'll have a new benchmark to to strive for to hire additional faculty. The issue is that there's no money in the budget that provides for that. And it'll be an unfunded mandate. So that's the issue that'll be challenging. And it's a double whammy because you're trying to hire more full-time faculty when your enrollments are going down. So it's not a good scenario in a financial sense to move that through. That's the biggest one I've seen so far. There might be a couple of other committees I haven't had a chance to go through because today's the deadline to get the bills out of policy committee, and we haven't seen the final postings in the other committees. So like in public employee and retirement or in general government, there might be some bills that affect all local government, not just community colleges, that might have gotten out as well. But that's the biggest one right now.
So this is an opportunity then for us, as we schedule legislative meetings, into February, March, maybe to advocate on the funding.
Right.
Yeah, for the faculty obligation number, we know then that the faculty are going to be probably pressuring everyone to, of course, push forward to implement this, but without the money, I think we're going to have to really notify the legislators how this is impacting the colleges.
Right. And we can put it in very clear financial terms. The state pays us about $86,000 per faculty member. Well, that barely covers salary and benefits for a first-year faculty member. So if we have to increase the total number, and by the way, we have the second highest FON in the state. We're second only to Mount SAC in terms of how many full-time faculty we have to have. That the idea that we would have to get, well, there are two things. Number one, to hire that number of full-time faculty, where's the money going to come from? But the second thing is that we need to take a look at the actual language of the bill, because right now with the faculty obligation number, the way a full-time faculty member is calculated is, a full-time faculty member teaches their full load, which is, let's say, 5 3-unit classes, 15 units. About 50% of our full-time faculty teach overload. That can be anywhere from 1 class to 3 classes. When they teach those 1, 2, or 3 overload classes, they count as adjuncts. So when you look at our 75-25, it may say that, and I can't remember off the top of my head what our number is, but the reality is more of our instruction is being taught by full-time faculty members, which is the goal of the FON. But the way the FON is calculated, if it's over their load, they count as an adjunct, not as a full-time faculty member. And I don't know about you, Tony, but the last time I checked, whether you're a full-time faculty, whether you're teaching those 15 units or you're teaching 6 units above that, you're still a full-time faculty member. You are still part of the faculty community as a full-time faculty member. So that language would have to get fixed, because it would actually be a better, more accurate picture. Because if you look at the initial FON language, what it says is that total hours being taught by full-time faculty. So it's illogical to change their identity for anything that's over the basic 15 hours.
Rebecca, would it be cheaper to hire adjunct faculty instead or not?
Oh yeah, it's always cheaper to hire adjunct faculty.
That's egregious to do overloads that big, when you're talking about.
Well, the problem is they have the right to them. I mean, they don't have a right to overload, like they're not on the seniority list. It's a long story, but the fact is that it's a working condition. So we would need the state to pass legislation saying, and there was a bill that passed back in 2015 or 16 that basically said that districts had to maximize the ability of adjuncts to get up to 6.67. How that was interpreted by districts varied. And we were in negotiations at LACCD, and the interpretation that the district had was adjuncts get should get their assignments before faculty get their overload. But that's not how the faculty interpreted it. And the way that it was worded was so vague that even a letter from the author of the bill saying, no, seriously, what I meant was adjuncts should get their assignments before full-time faculty. It wasn't specified in the law. And, you know, the full-time faculty won out on that. And, you know, because at one point, the full-time faculty pretty much anywhere said, oh, well, that's not a problem. So the colleges just are required to add additional sections to help adjuncts get up to 0.67. But the fact is, it's a zero-sum game. There are a set number of classes per semester, and those either get assigned to full-time faculty or they get assigned to adjuncts. We don't add classes to employ adjuncts.
Yeah.
And we're not required to, we're not compelled to.
Interesting.
So anyway, so that's a bill we're going to watch really closely because it could wind up being an unfunded mandate that bankrupts us.
It's interesting because, you know, the university union would never go for that, but I guess the community college union does. I don't know.
Because they prioritize full-time faculty over adjuncts at every turn.
So we should make sure to advise the budget and audit committee, the trustees on that. So that they
Yes.
understand this issue.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, great. Anything else, Dale?
Well, on the legislation side, CSEA is supposed to have a press conference this morning announcing the bill number for introduction of the Juneteenth bill. And their bill is going to apply to all state agencies and local jurisdictions as well. So it's going to be a far-reaching bill to clarify that because Biden made it a federal holiday, that it should be considered a state holiday as well. And we were actually working on this early on, talking with the California Black Legislative Caucus about this. And so this omnibus bill is going to be, I think it'll be announced sometime this morning, and we'll get a bill number, and we'll help line up support for it. But that's one to be aware of. And I guess and then Mr. Holden's bill, AB 102, to eliminate the sunset date of dual enrollment, passed out of committee yesterday. It went out on consent. So that bill will be moving through as well. 103 got held in committee, but I believe they took the provisions of 103 and put it into 102. So the provisions related to the authorizing county offices.
Oh, right.
To participate in the dual enrollment programs they just put it into the same bill.
So it's 102 now?
Yeah, 102
Okay.
is the vehicle now.
Okay. I got to tell you, I appreciate Chris, really pushing to get rid of the sunset, which I of course agree with.
Mhm.
I am a little concerned about the county offices of education because
Yeah,
the students who are overseen and educated by the county offices of education are not really in the spirit of dual enrollment. So I think we need to look at that. Like, are they thinking CTE programs? Are they thinking short-term job programs? That's something I want to talk to Holden about when we meet with him, because I'm trying to figure out how like a continuation high school or whatever would be an appropriate dual enrollment environment. I'm not understanding what he's trying to get at there.
yeah.
When is the sunset?
20,
Is it 24?
25?
24 or
Something.
25, but we're eliminating it now. I mean, this
Yeah.
bill will just wipe it off. So,
We'll just get rid of it. Yeah.
and the problem we've had, of course, with sunsets, when you're trying to plan your programs, you get close to the sunset date, you don't know whether to do them or not do them, right? So
Right.
that's what the issue is. Now, the other thing about dual enrollment is in the K-12 side of the budget, the governor put in $500 million to expand dual enrollment programs. And that's a positive thing. Again, we got to look at the language to see how he plans to allocate those funds. And once we get that language, we'll share it with you to
Okay.
see how it'll be distributed, if it's if it's going to be given across statewide, or is it going to be by application? We just got to find out how that's going to work out. see, we talked about 1505. And then I think Irwin's bill 1187 on tutoring did get out as well, and it's going to Appropriations Committee. So I think they'll be meeting next week to hear that.
And what are the specifics of that? Do you know? Is it tutoring for, it's tutoring hours, right?
Yeah, you get apportionment funding for tutoring.
For all tutoring, not just English and math.
Right.
Okay, great.
So,
And that's 1187?
1187.
Okay.
One
Her
other
district
bill-
office is less than a mile from my house.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
She's a good member. I like her. So
Yeah, I like Jackie Irwin. Yeah, my understanding from Chris, though, on the dual enrollment was he was trying to get at the kids in juvenile hall. So I don't know if that makes sense to us.
Well, but again, you know, I have a friend who works with those exact students in Orange County Juvenile Hall.
Mhm.
That's not college going. Dual enrollment are college classes. The kids who are in juvenile hall, they're not college level students, and it through no fault of their own. Like, it's not a criticism, it's a reality. Like, I'm not going to put a psychology class at juvenile hall.
Yeah. So it'd be good to talk to him a little bit.
Yeah,
about
I need to understand what he thinks, because these are supposed to be college classes.
Yeah. But I think also, Chris was a big supporter of kind of shifting the conversation of dual enrollment, that it's not just students who are prepared for college, but those students who maybe didn't see college in their future, but now could see that they could earn college credit while they were still in high school, and they saw a pathway to that. And I think maybe that, I'm just guessing, but those are kind of the conversations I had.
And I understand that, but I also know that most of the students who are in juvenile hall have spent most of their life stopping in and out of K-12. So again, for dual enrollment to work, we have to be true to what we're supposed to be doing, which is they are college level classes.
Yeah.
And since we can't offer basic skills anymore, like we can't go and offer basic skills English or math because AB 705, and we can't do K-12's job. And so I think we just need some clarity, try to figure out exactly what the focus is here.
I think it'd be great if you could offer skill, the mechanic programs and those sorts of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
one other bill I wanted to mention that we're putting more work on because it's an election year is the bond bills. There's AB 75. Patrick O'Donnell's got a $12 billion bond bill for K-14 education. SB 22 Glazier has a $15 billion bond bill going from preschool through medical school. And I just want to show you a chart. We have issues with the Glazier bill because he gives $2 billion for each of the segments of higher ed, which is on the one hand good news, but when you give equal shares to each segment, the community colleges get the short end of the stick. And let me just, if I can pull up, am I allowed to share screen?
Yes, you are.
Let me see if I can find. So did you get the chart? Can you see it?
Yeah,
Yes,
we can
we do.
see it.
So when you allocate the amounts per campus,
Crazy.
community colleges really get shorted. UC gets $100 million per campus for each $1 billion, and community colleges only gets 8.6. So we had a meeting with Lizette and a couple of the other lobbyists, and there's a willingness to send in a joint letter to oppose SB 22 unless they get they shift the shares of the funding for the bond in more equitably to the community college system. So
And Dale, would it be that this would be an allocation by campus so that we wouldn't have to go through like IPP and FPP processes to get access to the bond money?
well, that's the next step of how we write that language up.
Yeah.
To do that. So that's another thing that we're talking about next. But we wanted to get first to get the aggregate amounts equalized.
Well, because
Yeah,
it seems to me that it's kind of time for them to put some bond money into deferred maintenance for campuses. You know,
Right.
it seems like you don't have to have a building that's going to go up. What you need is, you know, substantial money to renovate or to, you know, earthquake proof or to do what have you. So it would be great if it wasn't through the IPP and FPP.
Yeah, yeah, that would be. So,
Yeah.
let's see, did I miss anything? Let's see here. We talked about reviews, and just a comment on AB 949, the Mullen Bill, biotech, just in general, biotech, climate change, green kinds of issues are big issues for the governor throughout the budget. Again, we have to do a deeper dive in the other agencies, but there's a lot of one-time money going into these initiatives as well. So there's going to be funding available for these kinds of things. And one of the things we're trying to do is identify possible sources where you folks might be eligible for funding, for seeking some of these funds. So once we learn more, we'll be able to share that with you.
Okay, great.
That one caught our eye because we have such a standout biotech program that's been there for so long. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And now it's the Keck biotech program.
Yeah, the other interesting thing about Mullen, you know, he's going to run for Congress now. He's going to run for Jackie Spears' seat. So all of his bills have a new meaning now, right? There's going to be more visible, you know, more press and more urgency to get these bills passed. That, you know, given the redistricting, that sort of leads into the tidbits where Mike Fong is going to be running in the Chow seat. Leva's not running. You have now PCC's now represented by both chairs of the Appropriations Committee, which is pretty awesome. So, I forgot to mention in Holden's office, Elle Hawksworth left. She's working for Assembly Member Gabriel. You know that, okay? So, so they're getting.
I wonder why. Do we know why?
I think it was just a promotion.
Oh, okay.
You know, it was a higher level thing, so it was an opportunity for her.
Yeah, and Jesse Gabriel's pretty cool, so that's good.
Yeah.
What's Leva's plan, Dale? Do you have an idea where she's at?
No, I don't.
He wants to run for superintendent of schools.
Ah, okay.
Really?
Interesting.
Oh, okay.
That's what I heard.
I could see that. I could totally see that.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's dealt with.
That would make sense. That would make sense.
She's a nice person.
Well, there's a lot of money, you know, as there's a lot of like carve out money on the table. So we, Alex, we've worked with both Holden and Portantino's office about our proposals. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. We put together a $5 million proposal to Portantino for a carve out for funding for a few things on campus. It's like section auditorium, seating, the mirror pools, and then some work at PCC Northwest. The signals we've gotten from Portantino's office, from Dominic, have been very, very positive. Nothing yet has been included because this is the governor making his proposal.
Yeah.
But as the process continues, I think we're probably going to see some of that make its way in there, we hope. But everything has been encouraging that we've heard there. The other outstanding item we have is we've got a $50,000 planning grant application for housing, student housing, in front of the Department of Finance. And there should be news in March about what's going on with that one.
And that's we put in for the money because the city of Pasadena has put money in their budget for us to do some collaborations on, you know, they have buildings that can be rehabbed and we can provide the students and the services. So we're trying to since we really can't build housing, what we're trying to do is figure out how do we capitalize on the resources that are available and provide what we can, and how do we collaborate with the city. So we're hoping we get that planning grant because I think we might be able to provide something for our students.
That's a good idea.
Erica, Supervisor Barger said that there is a developer who is, I guess, putting in, or has a plan for developing housing to include student housing. So are we aware of who that is and whether or not
in conversations with Tammy Gotterlin, who's a local developer. She works with a group that actually started a facility by UCLA called LA Room and Board. That does transition-aged housing, specifically targeted towards former foster students who are in college. So if that's who Barger's office is talking about, I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I see Savannah, I'll ask her to give more details too.
Yeah, because whatever, however we can help support that kind of development and funnel those opportunities to our students, the better. I'm just very realistic that we're not going to build housing. That's what's the Vagabond or the Saga Inn or whatever.
The Saga.
Yeah, they reached out and said, hey, we're interested in selling this to you to use for student housing. We're like, oh, how much? They said $100 million. We're like, no.
Sure.
Wow.
100 million. Yeah. No. That's not happening. Yeah. So.
Okay, so let's see.
And then if I could just make one more mention, this came up yesterday in conversation about transit funding for our students. We're currently in conversations with Metro about the bus line that's coming through, and the topic of fareless media, fareless for students has come up a lot. We may have a pitch to Holden to come back with some funding for something to help make Metro and our students work together to get some transit passes there, but that's still an idea in its infancy. He's been behind that kind of thing earlier, so we'll have a little bit more information about that in the coming weeks.
Yeah, we should really push for that. I think that would be really helpful for the students. It was also alleviate some of this discussion we have of building more parking structures.
Yeah, well, we're not going to build another parking structure. Yeah, we're working on that.
Okay. Anything else, Dale?
The only other thing I see on the list that would intersect what I'm working is the conference at the end of the month. I've been in touch, and without using the word lockdown, the legislature is basically locking down. There's memos coming out every day about restriction access. The Senate just came out with a memo instructing all staff to work from home. They started out with allowing 3 staff persons per office. Now they're down to allowing 1, and that 1 staff person in almost all cases is a scheduler, intake person to help the member when they're physically inside the Capitol for session. And so the Assembly hasn't followed suit yet, but they will eventually probably reach the same point. They gave the option to all staff people to work from home by application or by request that they submit to the member and to the Rules Committee. So I think eventually a large number of them will be working from home as well. So right now the prospect for in-person meetings do not look likely. And I think I told people, or I sent out a memo, that on January 31st, because it's a 2-year session, the legislature will be in session that afternoon as the deadline to get the 2-year bills out. And the 2-year bills are the worst bills that people have to vote on. And they're the worst because they're the most controversial. They're the ones that were hardest to get out in the first year of session. And they had to make amendments, or they had to force members, strong arm their fellow members to vote it out just to move it out. So it'll be a long session on the 31st in the afternoon. So you won't get members in the afternoon. There's an outside possibility, if they're not flying in, that you might be able to get some of the members the morning of the 31st, but you also have programs. Your conference is still on the 31st too.
We have caucus meetings in the morning.
So the trend is, it's trending towards any kinds of legislative meetings that you would like to have. You're better off probably scheduling remotely after the conference, not necessarily on the 31st. We could do it like we did last year, where we scheduled, during the month of February or March, or when we thought was timely or appropriate for you folks to schedule. So, but that's where the trending is going. And if you are coming to the conference, one other thing, we've been helping our other clients as well. People have been asking us to find places for them for dinner on the evening, the Sunday, the 30th. And if you're going to the reception and you want to spend some time at the reception and get dinner at 7, Carol's been having a hard time finding restaurants that will open until 9 o'clock because they close at 8. A lot of the restaurants close at 8. The other dimension you have is we're close to the arena, and there are restaurants open near the arena, but the Kings are playing there too, so it'll be a little bit crowded.
I'm in favor of eating at the reception and calling it a night. I don't,
Okay.
I think that, and I may not even eat at the reception because I don't eat from buffets right now. So I'm gonna punt on that one. The fewer opportunities for communal eating, the better for me. So I wouldn't spend, for at least from where I sit, we're good.
Yeah, I think we're fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're fine. We can
We'll call it
find
Red Hub if
food.
we need something.
Yeah, well,
Who's going to the CCLC legislative? So I know Tammy's going, I'm going, I know you're going, Erica. So
David, you,
yeah,
and Jim, I believe Jim is going because I think I don't know if he's helping. Turns out I'm doing 2 workshops. I'm presenting in 2 workshops, one in the morning on DEI. And then Diane McKay asked me to be part of a workshop in the afternoon as part of the board chair curriculum. And I thought she had talked to Jim about possibly being part of that too, but I'm not sure.
Okay. So since Jim and Tammy are not on this, we need to brief them also. So we'll get together when we get to Sacramento. And then also, so on the feds, then David, you're the only one who's going from the students. Okay, yeah. So we'll just
yeah.
on this.
I
Okay.
can't believe Berlinda doesn't want to go and spend a weekend in Sacramento. I mean, seriously.
Belinda is preoccupied. Her schedule is booked.
Well, that is her birthday week, so I understand.
happy birthday.
Yeah. So Berlinda, did you have any questions on legislative?
No, I think this is very informative. I'm actually impressed. I am.
David.
Ramirez, yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask if we're doing any budget advocacy while we're up there.
Well, only to the extent if we could get meetings, but I don't think we'll be able to get meetings. I think you're going to be more effective when we do Zoom, and then I could get people like Mark Martin for you, in the Assembly Budget Committee, to get you on Zoom, and then you could have more direct conversations and sessions with him. So that's what I'm betting. And plus, I think the budget trailer bill language is supposed to come out in February.
Yeah,
So
I think
once
we should.
We read the language on hold harmless in this dual enrollment piece, you'll be able to ask more pointed questions and get more specifics. Right now, we're reacting to narrative, and the devil's always in the details with budgets. So they always say nice things in the narrative, and then when you read the actual language, you might find
like, what? Yeah, I mean, right now it's like, thank you, the budget looks great, we hope this passes, but like Dale said, we got to make sure there's nothing in the language that would be problematic for us to implement.
Right. Okay.
I think we'll do more pointed meetings after the conference, David. Is there anything in particular that you're concerned about?
Not necessarily concerned about. I mean, I was happy to see that we're getting a lot of funding for AB 928 implementation. So I wanted to make sure that we advocate to keep that there.
Okay.
Well, we didn't advocate for that bill. Actually, we advocated against it.
I personally advocated for it, though.
Okay, so we'll strategize more about that and how we go after our advocacy. So Emmanuel, did you have any questions? Okay, so is Jonathan, is
anybody? Yeah,
anything?
Jonathan?
Nope. We can't really hear you.
I think he deferred given how quickly he remuted.
Oh, okay, all right. And then I don't know who PCC Lancer is, so.
That's video stream. That's Shireen watching the video stream.
Okay. All right. Tony, no further questions?
Just Erica, how are enrollments for spring?
Terrible.
Okay.
How far down are we?
We're down quite a bit. We're down, I think, maybe as much as 10%. Our bigger issue is that we're down, and I'll be talking about this next week. We're down significantly for our P1 320 report. Between the, we're down. We've been gradually going down for the last 2.5 years or really 2 years because of the pandemic. So we're down 10,000 FTEs over where we were in the fall of 2019. And we had folks calling people over the break because we were doing testing on campus. We had folks there who could call and reach out to students who were there in fall but hadn't registered for spring. A lot of the students said, I'm working, I have a good job, I'm making a lot of money, my family needs my help. I don't want to go online, or I don't know what to do. So I'm assembling a small kind of strike team to talk about how we're going to reimagine how we reach out to students, because the old way of, come get your associate's degree, we're here for you, isn't going to work at this point in time. Things are shifting. The good news is we have hold harmless, but we need to take a different approach. So they're not good.
Erica, is it, do you see that more male students, or there's a decrease of male students than female students?
Yes, we do have a decrease of male students, but the male student population has always been smaller than females in the community colleges anyway. But we also, because we have, 51% Latinx, the college going rate, that's a group that we need to work on for Latino males, because it is a group that tends to be smaller than Latinx females. Same thing, especially with African-American men, which is why we have the Amend program, we have the Ascend program, like we're targeting, but we need to scale up. And there's some of that in the budget too. There's money for Amend in the budget, in the governor's budget, there's money for Umoja. And so I think we're at a really interesting time. I talked a little bit about this at the foundation executive meeting yesterday, and bless his soul, Jack Scott said, oh, well, maybe if we do some research and we can just explain to students how they'll make more money in the long run if they come and get their degrees now. And, we just have a different generation of students who aren't that logic is baby boom kind of Generation X logic. It's not where millennials are. It's not where Gen Z is. We've got to shift how we do things, because the generation of students that got to stop looking at this as baby boomers.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not going to work. And we're seeing that in our employment trends as well. And, David, Emmanuel, any students who want to weigh in on this, I'd be very curious, but it's just not I'm going to go get a degree and then I'm going to go get a job and I'm going to work at that job for 40 years. That's
right.
That's not how they look at the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we have to change how we recruit them, because they're not thinking, that's not how we're doing things, folks. So
I agree.
So we'll be doing we're going to do like hot shots, and firefighters, a strike team, a small group, not let's all get together to plan. We can't do that. We've got, and Alex and his folks, obviously we part of it, because we need to rethink our marketing.
Yeah.
We need to think about how we do it. And, David and Emmanuel, any feedback you want to give to this, we absolutely want it, because you're a next generation.
Yeah, I
Alex?
think the feedback from the students is going to be really
Yeah.
important. So, Erica, I know you're planning on giving us some data points on the enrollment. So, since I'm part of AUW, it was our feeling, and I haven't looked at all the stats, that we thought women of color were actually more greatly impacted, but you're saying that's not true.
Well, I don't know about it at our institution. Women of color, a lot of, especially African-American women in the pandemic, chose to go to for-profits. And because of the way that they were marketed, because of a lot of things. And so we need to take a look at that and find out why. What is it? What is it we're not doing? Because clearly we're not doing something. But I don't have those data points off the top of my head. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, that'd be helpful for the trustees to know, though.
Mhm.
Can I
Okay,
ask her one more question?
sure.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Erica in such a long time. And I just wanted, I've been talking to faculty, they've called me. And I want to know if this is truthful. Before we said they can go online, faculty have told me that the synchronous classes and asynchronous classes closed first on campus. Is that true, or?
The synchronous online classes?
Just like the online classes closed first.
I heard that too, that they got filled first.
Is that true?
Well, in some cases, yes. In other cases, no. In some cases, like the sciences all filled immediately. Then there were some, so it just depends on the area. And I'm going to be quite honest, it depends on the faculty.
Yeah.
We do have some issues where staff classes were full and a class with the faculty who's teaching it only had 2 students in it. And the other thing is that, with the expansion of online across the state, students don't have to take all their online classes with us. Like if you want a sociology class and whichever one you want isn't available through us, well, you could take it at Butte College. It doesn't matter. And that's both good and bad. That's actually, quite frankly, what Governor Brown had in mind in trying to push the online course exchange process. I think if we had been more successful as a system in that online course exchange, we wouldn't have had the development of Calbright. Calbright came about because the system didn't really respond to what Governor Brown wanted. And so now, because of the pandemic, what he had in mind is actually happening, but it completely changes the calculus of how you do enrollment management. Because now it's not just, these are our students and this is how we figure out what they need to take. It's, these are our students, but they could take some of these classes anywhere. And so how do we account for that? And I know that there's a lot of faculty out there saying, oh, we want to stay online. Well, the fact is that there's a lot of very poor education happening. And we need to make sure that students get what they need. We heard from David, we heard from Emmanuel, we heard from lots of students in the fall that they felt like they were taking correspondence courses. And we have to stop that.
I have a few questions.
Yeah, Emmanuel.
I just want to first clarify, HSI population has gone down to about 43%, right? Not 51 anymore.
Off the top of my head, I can't tell you, Emmanuel. I don't know. I haven't looked at those numbers.
Okay.
But probably because our overall numbers have gone down.
Yeah. And kind of to answer, I guess, your question that, we need a different approach for millennials and Gen Z. I mean, I think we just have to be strategic, and I think it's pretty simple. Just follow the trends, I think something that we could try is, everyone wants to support their local business. Why aren't people supporting their local community college? Why do we have such a large number of commuter students? And you see on social media, UCs and all these private schools constantly offering certificate programs. Why wouldn't I have friends who live in Pasadena, but they'll do UCLA programs online? I've been communicating with my peers in my classes this semester, and there's mixed feelings about wanting to return as well. I would assume that that's the reason why these online classes are filling up. People don't feel safe. I'm constantly asking for, written statements from students. And so far, the ones I've received is that they fear returning this month. And I would assume it's because this variant. I lost my streak this winter and caught COVID. I think I was being hard on myself, but I think everyone is thinking similarly. And if they don't feel safe, then I know the college is doing everything possible, from trying to obtain masks, give them testing sites. I think I'm personally very grateful for that. Faculty has shared their their appreciation for everything that we're doing. But there's that missing, I guess, certainty or comfort that we can provide students that we are doing everything. Maybe we have to promote everything that we've spent, including, these HEPAs, these purifiers. I think that, we've given out plenty of masks that aren't KN95s, but according to what the city has mandated of us or recommended. Just a few thoughts. I have lots of questions, but I would definitely reach out via email to Alex regarding this topic.
Mhm.
I think Emmanuel's correct. I have a great fear, even myself, because I don't want to get this thing, even if it's mild. But I think you're right.
I mean, who wants to get sick at all?
Yeah.
That was torture for me, being at home, having to order Grubhub and all these things. I've never done that. I'm not that type of person, but I think that, maybe we have some people walking around the bookstore. I mean, the bookstores have impact. If we want to really know what they think, we have to probably still do some sort of outreach, in-reach on campus, even though we're not providing services aside from library services and bookstore.
I know we've talked about surveys. Emmanuel, do you think we should be vigilant, just really be cautious after these 2 weeks? Maybe we need to extend that.
Well, David and me wanted to meet tomorrow and kind of discuss what we've heard from our peers, as well as from faculty. I do know we need help creating a survey. We need real data. We can't just do this word of mouth stuff.
Right. Well, the survey that we did in the fall, students said they wanted to be back face to face, which is why we planned the spring the way that we did. So we could do a survey. But I just want to throw that out there that we heard students say they wanted to come back, which is why we scheduled it the way that we did. And we heard stories. Emmanuel, you told us stories, lots of students told us stories about feeling like they were teaching themselves. Right. And so that's why we were so insistent about synchronous online for these 2 weeks, because we wanted to make sure that we said to that faculty understood, you've got to meet with your students, because asynchronous online students didn't feel supported. So I think that also, as you gather information, it's really important for you to gather the difference between synchronous and asynchronous, because from where I sit, if students want the online to continue for a few more weeks, I assume it is as synchronous so that their faculty actually meet with them.
I think that's all that we needed. Why are they okay with telling us different now? Because we're actually being real time. It's funny to me, how helpful could this have been if we would have been teaching synchronously, kind of like we were doing, what was it, spring of 2020? Mm-hmm. That was okay. But once we came in the fall or in the summer, we got people in Cancun having pina coladas. Yeah. So how can they teach us in real time?
Yeah.
So I think that Trustee Brown had brought up the same question at our last board meeting. And I know, Erica, you said that you're still trying to collect the baseline data and to get the data. I guess there were a lot of, I think your response was there were a lot of variations, that a lot of things that may have impacted previous survey. So we can be a little more, I guess, I don't know if we can get better baseline data. So,
Well,
Trustee Brown, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I think I value what Emmanuel has to say, but these are some tough times, and I don't think we have a magic ball to tell what it's going to be like. I think administration is trying very hard, and I see where the students are now feeling that they're not safe. And you know what? They're right. I'm not safe either. But we just want to do what is best for the students. So please get that information to the president so that whatever decision is made is going to stand. And it probably won't, but it will stand because we're not going to be able to please everyone. And we already know that students prefer face-to-face. And now we are talking about that they will be okay with synchronous, and that's good. So let's just try to get all the information we can and give it to the superintendent so we, as the board, can make the right decision so later on we don't get a no confidence vote. And you know how it goes because everything, this is moving.
Yeah.
This is moving all over. And whatever you do, trust me, is not going to be the right thing.
And I think, and that's why, so a team of us are meeting like tomorrow to look at what are the trends, what are the infection rates, what are all of these. So we're just going to continue meeting to look at what's happening in terms of, rates of positivity. And we're just taking in every data point we can. So, I think Emmanuel and David, any information you can provide after you have your meeting tomorrow would be great. Maybe you could loop Alex into that meeting because we need to have, as Trustee Brown said, we're never going to make everybody happy. We're just not. And so what we have to do is take as many data points as possible. I just want to make sure that students feel like they are getting the instruction and the services, not just instruction, not just what happens in the classroom, but also what happens outside of the classroom.
Yeah,
and with that, we are 9 minutes over time.
We are. Okay, so if no other questions, we all kind of have our marching orders and we'll see everybody at the legislative committee at the legislative meeting in a couple of weeks. Okay. All right. Thank you.